All right, everyone, welcome in. It is time for Total Bases. It is Friday. There's some live viewers popping in. A little delay right there. I was making sure that we had an audience. It looks like we do, and I'll just cover it right now. Not a good night for us last night. Both Tokyo Brandon and I had somewhat heartbreaking losses on our 5% plays. I had the Red Sox plus 1.5. They had a 2-1 lead. Peyton Toley had 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. He looked awesome as expected. And the Red Sox bullpen gave up, I think, 5 consecutive hits or something like that. All 3 Yankees runs with 2 outs. Even after the big hit to take the lead, if the Yankees get out of that inning, if the Red Sox get out of that inning 3-2, it probably ends 3-2. And of course, I had Red Sox plus 1.5. Tokyo Brand, the Twins come all the way back to tie the game. You have to be feeling pretty good, back from the dead, and they turn around and sort of choke it away. So 0-2 Thursday for me. Just to everyone in the chat, we appreciate the support either way, and TB and I are going to work hard to get it back today. How was the rest of your day outside of the Twins play?
Not good. Not very good. I had the Yankees first 5, and they gave up a home run with 2 outs in the 5th inning to lose that, and then they come back and win the game. So it was a double punch for me. It sucked. So yeah, not good.
Bryan Leonard is
annoying.
He's not annoying. No, I know you're annoyed. No, Bryan Leonard is a victim of slow internet up in Canada. I was like, oh, you'll have no problem doing the show from the hotel. And I totally forgot he was like going to a different country. So he was basically like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work. That's okay. We want him to just enjoy his weekend anyway. Like I said, he's gonna hit some. I think he might be going to like a hockey playoff game. He's got a big weekend plan. I think they're going to a Leafs game.
NBA games. He's going to NBA.
Oh, maybe it's Raptors. Maybe it's Raptors. But then I know that some of the WagerTalk guys, Carm, Prez, I don't know who else, but they're going to be out at the Jays game tomorrow. So very jealous of that. We hope Brian has a great weekend. And Brian had a great night last night. I think he's won 10 straight. So he's got a 5% play today. We always kind of joke about like, out of the 3 of us, like someone's probably going to be winning at some point in time. It all ebbs and flows. TV was, red hot earlier this month. I had last week where I was on a really good run. Well, right now it's Bryan Leonard. He's got 10 straight wins across all sports, and I believe he has a 5% play going tonight. And hey, we're going to come on here, win or lose, and address it. And I know a lot of people were disappointed in the 5%ers last night, as were we. So again, but it's a new day today, TB. We're going to get back into it, and let's start with in the U.S. tonight, the quote unquote national TV games are on Apple TV. And they're probably the 2 biggest games of the night. So let's start with what I would consider the biggest one. Cubs, Dodgers. The Chicago Cubs have won 9 straight games, but all of those wins are against the Mets and the Phillies, 2 teams that have been notably struggling to this point. Now the Cubbies head out west. You like the Dodgers yesterday. They got it done. Do you think the Dodgers get it done and snap the Cubs win streak tonight?
Yes. So I have a red flag on the Dodgers here. They're coming back home with no rest after playing yesterday. And Teon, actually, I have the Cubs ranked higher than the Dodgers in every category right now, current form, hitting, bullpen, and starting pitcher. But neither starting pitcher is exactly instilling confidence in me, shall we say. Sheehan's got a 5+ ERA, not pitching well at all. I got him ranked 20 out of 30 on a curve of 30. And I got Teon at 17. So my inclination would be to go with the Cubs here with the big plus money. However, there's a red flag on that as well. If you look at my Twitter X, I already put up the pitcher matchups for today, and Teon does not rank well on the matchup today. So that's a red flag for them. I have a red flag on the Dodgers. Usually when you get crap versus crap. Usually it equals an over. So I would be inclined to go with an over today, but I think the Dodgers might be a little flat today due to coming back home with no rest. So I'll probably avoid this one.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because, the Cubs obviously 9 straight wins last night or yesterday afternoon. Crazy game there as well. The Phillies come all the way back to tie it. The Cubs get it done in extras. So, and then you look at the Mets and the Phillies right now. Both of those teams way off of like what the expectation for them was this season. So, part of me wants to say, okay, the Cubs, they kind of took advantage of catching teams like at their worst, right? Like the Phillies are probably as bad as they'll be all year right now. And the Mets, you could say when the Cubs played them, were at their worst. So one part of me wants to look at that and say, oh, well, certainly I would play against them here. But surprisingly, Tokyo Brandon, there isn't much value in fading the Cubs. Like I was hoping the Cubs would get like more respect than they're getting from the number. And maybe that number would be a little bit lower so I could make a rare Dodger side play. But the Dodgers were, I guess, juiced up a little bit more than I thought they were going to be. Part of that probably is where the market is on Jameson Taillon. But, Jameson Taillon is a veteran that every time I go to doubt this guy or like think that like, all right, we got to sell him off, he just finds a way to turn in a good start. Last time out against the Mets, 1 run over 6 innings pitch. He did get blown up a little bit by the Pirates. But in that game, you got to remember that Pirates game was the game where the wind was blowing out like crazy. He went 6 innings and gave up 6 runs, but still had 10 strikeouts. And I'll almost give him a pass there because the wind was like 30 miles an hour blowing dead out at Wrigley Field. Start before that. Quality start, 3 earned runs, 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, no walks against the Rays. So it's like, I kind of think the value's on the Cubs side here, but outside of like maybe just taking a flyer on the Cubs based on having a good price or like getting, good odds, I don't know that I want to go against the Dodgers, even with them in a flat spot. So that one is a likely pass for me.
Didn't Taillon used to pitch for the Pirates himself? He came from the Pirates, right?
Yeah, Jameson Taillon was a Pirate for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. In a case like this, just from betting experience, when you have a big underdog like this that you like, but you really don't feel good taking them on the side, the team total is a good way to go sometimes. And they're on the road as well, so you're guaranteed 9 innings of at-bats. So maybe a Cubs team total over would be the way to go. I think the Dodgers bullpen's a little worn out, and I don't really like Sheehan very much.
Yeah, I mean, see, I do think Emmett Sheehan ultimately is better than what his small sample size says so far this year. But the Cubs, as you said, Tokyo Brandon, the Cubs have sort of blown up offensively. And I don't think that's a fluke. Like this team was very cold offensively out of the gate. Like when you look at this Cubs lineup, it shouldn't be surprising that they're hitting the ball. I guess, I guess it's a little surprising that Scott Kingery's batting. You got him in the sorry, I misread that. He's on the roster. I don't think he was in the lineup yesterday. I was trying to pull up yesterday's lineup just to make a point. He did pinch run. Point is, Horner, Bregman, Happ, Seiya, like Michael Busch, Dansby Swanson, PCA, like that shouldn't surprise you that they're hitting. So it's like as I said the other day, I'm buying the Cubs more so than I was earlier in the year. I think the only way I could play this one is Cubs and just take the value on the underdog.
Could be a good way to go.
Yeah, and again, we cover that one because it is the big game. It's a game that everyone in the United States is going to get. I have a feeling we're going to find better betting opportunities on the board than that game. And Garth has been finding us great betting opportunities on the show. Shout out to Garth. So for those of you who don't watch Full Court Press, Garth is a regular on the Full Court Press show. And he had a great basketball season, putting plays in the chat, a frequent donator. So we very much appreciate that. All the donations to this show and every show on the WagerTalk platform go to charity. We were, I think Operation Village is the one we've been working with recently, but they all go to a charity. They all go to a good cause. Garth's been red hot the last couple days on the bases as well. Yesterday, he dropped Atlanta over 8.5 in the chat. That's over 8.5 hits. It got done. Today, he likes the Brewers. He says, I'm looking at the Brewers today. In his career, Skeens against the Brewers has a 5.79 ERA. So Pirates Brewers to you, Tokyo Brandon. Paul Skeens on the hill for the Pirates. How are you seeing this one?
I'm gonna have to disagree with our guy Garth, unfortunately, because I make two lists. I make a good list and a bad list. It basically, I put a bunch of conditions in there, and it spits out for me like some red flags and green flags, shall we say? And Pirates have a lot of green flags here, mainly because the Brewers are going to be in a flat spot here, coming back home on an away game with no rest. And also, actually, I have the Pirates ranked higher than the Brewers in every single category that I rank. Every single one. Not by a lot, but every category I have the Pirates ranked higher. Woodruff is a great pitcher. Skeens is a revolutionary talent, or a once in a lifetime talent kind of pitcher, elite. And if you look at my Twitter, I did put out the rankings here, and both of them rank really high in the matchups. So my first inclination was to go under, but the Pirates are hitting really well right now. Brewers are pretty mediocre. Brewers bullpen is struggling too. I don't know. I would say a Pirates team total, maybe Pirates on the side, something like that would be the way I would go with this one. You have to plug your nose and close your eyes if you're going to bet against Skeens here, in my opinion.
I'm kind of with Garth here, and you're going to be surprised to hear me say that, because I've been Mr. Pittsburgh Pirate on this show so far this year. But and this is very similar to the first game we talked about, where for me it's all about relative to the number. Okay, and for me, I think this week was the first sort of time that I've really, probably since, maybe not even in the Rangers series, but like I'll say like over the past like 5 to 7 days, where I feel like the market has started to catch up to the Pirates being a good team. You look at this, and I think if this game occurred, because remember, the Brewers, I still think the Brewers are one of the best like 2 or 3 teams in the National League. They've had some injuries. Like, this is still a really, really good baseball team. 2 weeks ago, the Brewers are probably favored in this game. They're probably a slight favorite with Brandon Woodruff on the mound in this game, even with Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. Now the Brewers are close to like plus 120, right? Like I think, I'm not saying Skeens is not like deserving of getting love in the market, but here the Brewers are probably one of the few, they're a better team than the Pirates. And I think you can make the case that Woodruff is at least on the same level as Skeens. They're both in that upper echelon of starting pitchers. I actually sat about 15 rows behind home plate for Brandon Woodruff's most recent start, aside from when I was, doing my laps around the building. I was at the Marlins Brewers game this past weekend. Woodruff looked fantastic. 7 innings, had total control of the game. You scattered 3 hits. Wasn't overpowering, but he certainly looked in control of that game, and it was one of his better starts of the year. So it's like you go back to what Garth brings up with, Skeens has not pitched well against Milwaukee in his career. I mean, in my opinion, you're getting somewhat of a coin flip. I don't even think it's a coin flip, because I still think the Brewers are slightly better and they're at home. And then, of course, the Pirates have to come all the way from Texas, so it's not like they're in just some great spot either. So, Garth, I'm with you here. I lean toward the Brewers in this one. I couldn't pass up plus money there if I was going to play that game. Someone said sick brag. I think that was to me. Listen, you want to go sit behind home plate at a Marlins game, just buy any ticket and stroll right on in. There's not many people at Marlins games. Like you could, I think I can't even remember. I got like the cheapest ticket that was offered because I'm like, well, I'm going to create some video and like walk around do a lot of walking around, which I also did. You can check out my stadium tour of Lone Depot Park on my page if you want. This was a Saturday afternoon. It's not Yankee Stadium. Buy a ticket, go find a seat wherever you want. That's where we're at for Marlins baseball right now. So
I would like to recommend a game here if you don't mind. And actually, two different people in the chat have asked for this game.
All right, well. Yeah, Brett, let's go. TV. What are we looking at?
Let's make the people happy. Let's talk about Gavin Williams and Max Scherzer today. The Guardians going against the Blue Jays. I saw two of you guys in the chat talking about Williams and another guy saying, hey, let's talk about the Guardians. So let's do that for a couple minutes here. Max Scherzer used to be an elite pitcher, and he's really fallen off this year. Not looking good at all. Got him ranked 25 on a curve of 30. Gavin Williams is a guy I've never really liked to back, but this season he's pitching lights out. And the thing is, the Blue Jays are hitting better and they have the better bullpen. So one thing about Gavin Williams is he does walk a lot of people, and he is one of my chronic walkers from last year. So if his walks prop would be 1.5, I would be inclined to take that. Other than that, maybe I actually did put a free play out for this. I like the Blue Jays first half over 1.5 as a team total because Gavin Williams actually ranks 20th on my list of pitcher matchups today. If you go to my Twitter X, you can see the full list 1 through 20, but he's last. The Blue Jays have hit him for 1,100 plus OPS. So I kind of like the Blue Jays to score some runs here, and I like Gavin Williams to walk a few people.
Yeah, this is a very interesting series. So I'll rewind about a week, maybe about 10 days ago. I am on record on this show saying that I thought the Blue Jays might flirt with being, 7 to 10 games under 500 come the end of this month. Now, it could still happen if they have a really bad weekend here and then struggle into next week. But the Jays have been they've held their own more than I thought they were going to. So the reason for my sort of drop in power ranking on the Blue Jays was, of course, injuries to guys like Cody Ponce. The fact that Trey Savage is not back yet. They already had Jose Barrios on the IL. Bassett is now no longer with the team. It's like that you looked at that pitching, and then you look at the Bowden Francis done for the year. That was known. They have an entire starting rotation on the IL when it comes to pitching. And I really thought, like, with no depth in Buffalo and not like a super deep bullpen, that was really going to, hurt the Blue Jays. I figured that would be their undoing a little bit, but to their credit, they ended up, they took 2 of 3 over the weekend or earlier this week against the Angels. Salvaged one in the desert against the Diamondbacks, and then they won one against the Brewers. So, like, they're hanging in there, but they're still not a team that I'm still fading this team. Like, this is still what I consider the quote unquote short term, where they just don't have a super deep rotation. They don't have the bullpen arms. And, now you're playing a Guardians team that does like all the little things, like, and this has been going on for years now. The whole guards ball sort of mentality. They do all the little things right. They steal. They steal in the margins, whether it be like knocking a run in, getting guys in from third, less than 2 outs, playing defense, good relief pitching, all of that. Like, I will look probably to oppose the Blue Jays in this series at some point. I didn't love the price to do it here, but like, you look at the way the Guardians are playing. You look at Gavin Williams, who really, again, has been, I think he's been fantastic. I was out on Gavin Williams after he got hurt a couple years ago. He looks like the guy, that he was, this was a first round pick back in 2021. it looks like he's finally sort of like fully arrived as like a legitimate ace. So even though, I don't know if I'm getting like the exact right price here to back the Guardians, but I still would only play the Guardians in this game and probably in this series. Blue Jays 10-14, Tokyo Brandon. Like, I still think that they have some regression to occur. I still think they're going the other way before, like, they need to get guys back, in my opinion, before they like start to like trend back toward 500. So I lean toward the Guardians here. I got to go to the chat here. So again, jump in the comments on the YouTube replay. We do read them. I do try to respond to them. And one guy was like, you guys never talk about the Reds. He's like, I'm going to stop watching this show. You never bring up the Reds. And my rebuttal was, well, we talk about the games that the live chat wants to talk about. Like we're not the only thing that's scripted is we make sure to hit the nationally televised game on the top because a lot of people want to bet on the nationally televised game. Other than that, we go completely off the chat. But I said for this guy, I will get the Reds in the show on Friday. So for the chat person, I don't know if they're the same person, but Mike S also says Reds Tigers, battle of two lefties. He leans Cincy, even though they are due to regress soon. The Tigers struggle versus lefties. So let's make some people happy here, TB, because we haven't been great at doing that the last couple days. Reds Tigers to you. How are you seeing this one?
So let's take a look here. We got Abbott and Framber Valdez. Framber Valdez pitching well. Abbott is not pitching well, but honestly, I like Abbott more than I like Valdez, generally speaking, but not this season. Abbott, man, his walk rate is really high. Actually, both these guys have a pretty high walk rate, and neither bullpen is performing well at all. Unfortunately for the Reds, they're not hitting. So I think if I were to do anything, I would take a Detroit team total to the over is probably the way I would go in this if I were to bet it, but I did not. Valdez's numbers against these batters are so-so, not too bad. And Abbott don't have a big enough sample size. So yeah, I'd probably go Reds team total over maybe, even in the first 5 perhaps, because, or I'd go full game because that Reds bullpen is not performing well. Abbott not performing well either. So yeah, that's probably how I would go.
I simply cannot back a team that is 16-9, but is as low in the totem pole in the WRC plus column as the Reds. Now, I'm not saying that like you can't win close. Like I'm not saying pitching can't win games, right? And the Reds have done it with pitching, and they've also, they've played small ball. They found a way to cash in opportunities. Like that's all great, but like I don't think the Reds are elite in that category. Like I look at the Reds pitching staff. Bullpen's good. I don't think it's elite. Starting pitching is good. I don't think. I mean, it's starting pitching without a doubt is above average. I don't know if it's elite though. And yet here they are, 16-9. Yet they've been like dead last in WRC plus offensively all season. There's just no way that they can keep that up. Like it is just, it's not possible to continue to win at the rate they are winning if they don't hit. Because again, it's not like if this would be totally different if it was like, the 2001 Diamondbacks, Tokyo Brandon, you were trotting Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, out there like every day. Like that is not what the Reds have. So in my opinion, the Reds will need to hit at some point to continue to win at this percentage, the percentage that they're winning. If they don't, I think you're going to see them lose a few games in a row. G Hurt says Tigers smash spot. He's a Tigers fan, but
don't bet his word. Fan.
I'll tell you what though, I'll take his word for it because he's a pretty realistic fan. He came in here willing to, kind of bash the Tigers when they weren't playing well earlier this year. Tigers have now won 4 of 6. They've actually now taken, I believe they've taken 4 straight series, swept the Marlins, swept the Royals, took 2 of 3, split with the Red Sox. Forgot about that Patriot Day game on Monday. Split with the Red Sox, took 2 of 3 from the Brewers. Yeah, I mean, I don't love the fact that I have to like lay, what is it, like maybe minus 125 on the road with them. But I also kind of I just can't take the Reds here. It's going to be Tigers or pass. I'll tell you what, I will probably look for a spot to play the Tigers this weekend. I just don't know if it'll be here.
As you guys in New York say, the Reds are fugazi. That's a New York thing, I think. But
yeah, because you have to
fugazi.
look at them as a little bit fraudulent if they're not going to hit, because you just can't look at this like entire staff of pitching and be like, oh yeah, that this team's going to just win 2 out of every 3 games with this group of pitchers. So
the pitchers aren't actually pitching that well either. I mean, Chase is pitching well, but besides him, so right. Yeah. Stinger? I mean, they're not that good of a rotation. I mean, they got one guy, Burns is dealing, and that's about it.
I'll throw a bet out for that game, but it's I would take a Tigers series bet if you have it offered. I don't know what the price is. I'm assuming it's like minus 120, something like that. I don't know what the price is, but I like that. I think the Tigers will win that series this weekend. Not sure which games they'll win, but they're obviously favored today. I like a Tigers series bet.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah. Oh, no, go ahead. Did you have one more thing to add?
No, I was just going to say, it's hard to promote ourselves after we both lost yesterday, but you can get double play.
We can promote Bryan. We'll just promote 3 days. Bryan. Bryan's hit 10 games in a row. He's got a 5% play tonight.
Yeah.
Pick Bryan.
Pick Bryan plus one of us for 3 days. I think it's a huge discount. So you can do that. And, the chances of us having 2 or 3 losing days in a row is very small.
Yeah, I'll speak to that for like very, very quickly. Like I've had so far this month, I can't avoid it. Every week I have like 1 0 or 2 or 0 and 3 day. But like I still managed to like keep my head above water in baseball despite those, if I could avoid like the one bad day of like 0 and 2, 0 and 3 each week, I'd be up a lot more. But even after the 0 and 2 yesterday, I'm still right around even on the bases across the board on the season. And it's such a long season. I'm not worried about it at all. TB, you're still ahead on the season. So there's nothing to worry about. It was just a bad day.
Yes, sir. So grab that special.
All right. I got a take right here. I want to see if you agree with this, Tokyo Brandon. I know the last team you want to talk about is the Mets right now. I know that's not a team you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But I do think that like I'll make here's my, I don't even know if this is a hot take, but it's a take. I think the Mets sweep this weekend. I don't think they lose a single game to the Rockies. And I've been a Rockies guy. I've been very pro Rockies.
You've been a homer.
I've been on the Rockies all year, but I said the other day when the Mets finally snap this losing streak, they may get hot. Because I felt like it was more of a mental thing than anything. They snapped the losing streak on Wednesday. They win despite blowing a lead yesterday, and now they will be a big favorite all weekend against a Rockies team that is always worse on the road and just had a crazy series at home with the Padres. A 1-0 loss on Tuesday. They win on Wednesday, and then yesterday blow a lead late and lose the game 10-8 by giving up 5 runs in the 9th inning. I think this is a really bad spot for the Rockies and terrible timing to have to now travel and play the Mets, who have a little bit of momentum after back-to-back wins and are probably going to try to make up for lost time this weekend, right? Like the Mets kind of have to look at this and say, you know what? We can't afford to give one away to the Rockies here. Like this has to be a sweep for us. Tokyo Brandon, can you bet a team to sweep, or would you just like parlay the Mets each day? I guess it's the same thing.
Well, I actually like the Rockies today. I know it sounds weird, but I'm not betting them. But my numbers point towards the Rockies, and my flat list, green light list. Green light list, I have the Rockies on my green light list, and I have the Mets on my red light list. So probably the Mets will win. Let's face it, they're a better team, despite their 12-game losing streak. And you've been betting a long time, and I've been betting a long time. I'm sure many of our audience members have been betting a long time. What do you think? Do you think 2 good games in a row is considered a bounce back and they're back? Or do you think they're still as bad as they were when they were losing 12, but they just won a couple games? So that's kind of the dichotomy, I guess you could say. Which is it, right? Are they back? Are they actually a good team now? I don't know. I'm going to avoid this game, though, because I got too many conflicting red flags and green flags here.
I'll speak to that point, Tokyo Brandon. I think it's a really good point, and I want to dig into that a little bit more. I don't necessarily think the Mets are back, but I think that this series is occurring at the perfect time for them. So do I think am I just going to go and say, oh, okay, the Mets won a late game against the Twins team with no bullpen and then choked away a big lead and then just like kind of, we're fortunate to like be able to bounce back the next inning and win. They're suddenly back. No, I don't think you can say that just yet. But I do think that 12-game losing streak was as much sort of like mental and like, it was as much of a mental thing and just a bad vibes thing than it was some bad luck mixed in there, than it was them being just this bad team. And so just think about how this is going to play out now. You get the 2 wins, and now you are at home all weekend against a team that really you should be a $2 favorite against in every single game, right? That you should beat in every game. That even if the Rockies win 20 more games than they did last year, they're still probably on a 100-loss team that also has to fly across the country, that just played 3 high-intensity games with the Padres. So that's really why I like the Mets this weekend. It's just Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Finish your point.
No, so I really just think it falls at a time where the Mets can take advantage of a Rockies team that has, we look at home road splits with the Rockies all the time. Oh, the altitude, they have the advantage at home. Well, that home advantage doesn't get to travel with them to New York, right? So you take them out of where they have their advantage a little bit. And now you put them up against a Mets team that, like the Mets are not going to overlook the Rockies after losing 12 straight games. That's also what I'm trying to say. Any other time, maybe they're like, it's the Rockies. They're going to come into this week and be like, no, like we have an opportunity to sweep a team that we should beat. And then all is right in the world, at least temporarily in New York. So that is your bet right there. So I'm going to give out a second series bet here, Tokyo Brandon. I like the Mets to sweep. And if you don't have that at your book as a prop, which I don't know if that's ever offered, you can literally just parlay the Mets every single day or do a rolling bet where it's like, if you don't have the option to do an open parlay, literally just roll it each game. Bet the Mets tonight, take everything you win on that game, bet the Mets tomorrow, take everything you win on that game, bet the Mets on Sunday. That's the same thing as betting them to sweep.
So I made a small case for the Rockies. Let me make a small case for the Mets here and tell you why I'm not betting this game because I have too many conflicting points. I do like Peralta as a pitcher. He's not pitching very well this season, but he's actually quite talented, and I think he's due for a bounce back. Let me make the case. The Rockies are 3-10 on the road, and if it were not for that Mets losing streak, let's say this was opening day, the Mets would be minus 310. So I think this line is very generous for the Mets considering they're a lot more talented. So those are my points for the Mets. I'm not going to bet it though. I'm a chicken.
All right. I see. So people want to talk, seems like people want to talk Orioles Red Sox. So we can talk about this one.
Sure.
Again, I already had my venting session at the top of the show. Of course, I was on Red Sox plus 1.5 last night, and Peyton Toley was phenomenal, as I expected him to be. Yet they squandered a 2-1 lead and couldn't cover the plus 1.5. A disappointing bullpen blow up for them. And now they turn around and take on the Orioles, which, other than the fact that the Red Sox bullpen is still rested, they didn't have to, they still have Chapman down there, and some of their leverage guys, hadn't pitched in a couple of days. I think the Orioles is the right side here. I'll be honest, had the Red Sox held out, had that game finished 3-2 last night and I won that bet, or had the Red Sox won, I may have turned around and fired Orioles for like a big play here, a 4 or 5% play. I haven't done it yet because I'm still licking my wounds a little bit from last night, and I'm gonna I'm gonna sort of see how things play out over the next couple hours. But I have a very short list of games that I have a strong lean on today. Probably 3 or 4 games on there. One of them we talked about with the Guardians. Another one, Tokyo Brandon, is the Orioles. Brandon Young has been phenomenal for Norfolk. He gets the call up to pitch here. And I don't really love Bayo. And like you've said all year, this Red Sox team is just not very good. In addition to not having good at-bats, they're kicking the ball all over the field, making errors, allowing guys to get the extra base. It has just been, I want to rip my hair out watching that Yankee series. Do you agree or disagree, Orioles, Red Sox to you?
Fully agree. I like the Orioles here. Young looks great. And I've never been a fan of Bayo. He's kind of inconsistent. Like I said, if you look at my Twitter X and my pitcher rankings, he's kind of right in the middle. So he doesn't get thrashed by the Orioles. But if you look at my rankings, I have the Orioles a lot better than the Red Sox in starting pitching and batting today. And I got both bullpens being fairly elite, top 5 bullpens. So the big discrepancy I see here is in the hitting and in the starting pitching. I think Orioles have a huge advantage here. So I certainly would lean them. What is it? -20 right now. I don't like to bet X factors. And to me, Young, even though he's looked good, is still kind of an X factor, which is what's keeping me off the game. But certainly I would not bet the Red Sox here. I would take the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, Orioles looks like they're down to like -115. The Red Sox have taken some money, which does not surprise me at all. The Red Sox have taken sort of what you would consider to be respected money the last couple days. But also that is like, you'll see that sometimes where it's like the quote unquote sharps come in and they'll just keep betting the same side until they win. And then of course they haven't won yet, right? They got swept by the Yankees. That's why I don't pay a ton of attention to that. Like, the Red Sox was the quote unquote sharp side that entire series against the Yankees. They did not win a single game. I understand the mindset of like, well, they've got to be better than this, right? Like, that's why I think you see the Red Sox getting some market love, because it's like, well, at some point they're just going to figure it out. I mean, they had, and I'm just trying to pull up Brandon Young's numbers from this year real quick, but like, they have, like, if you watch these games, you can't, like, you're watching the Red Sox, everyone's having bad at bats. Like, it's just poor at bat after poor at bat. And so it's like, yeah, like, I theoretically, like, maybe they figure it out at some point, but like, when everyone is collectively so out of it, and then you can't even you have this 11 strikeout gem from Peyton Toley, and you can't even get that home. I just don't even know how you look at the Red Sox and you're like, yeah, now they're on the road. That's the team I want to take tonight. And Brandon Young, just to this year, and one of these starts was in with Baltimore on the road against the White Sox. So his numbers: 3 starts at Norfolk, 1 start with the Orioles this year. He has a 0.83 ERA, a 0.60 WHIP, and a 114 batting average against. And again, one of those starts was for the big league club with the Orioles. His stuff has looked incredible. I mean, if the Red Sox couldn't hit anything they've seen the last 3 days, what makes you think that they're going to have success against a guy that's throwing the ball that well? Again, the only advantage the Red Sox have here is the bullpen. and the high leverage bullpen arms, because of course, you get to the end of the game and Chapman's in there. All right, I see you. You're probably going to win. I will make this my parlay leg, because this is one of, like I said, I have 4 games that I'm considering today. One is the Guardians, one is the Orioles, and there's 2 others. I'll use the Orioles for the parlay, Tokyo Brandon. We're going to call it minus 115. That's a really good number on this side.
And to back that up, Young is backed up by a very good bullpen. You say Red Sox advantage. Actually, I have the Orioles bullpen ranked higher. However, Boston might have better arms available today, but still, Young is not backed up by chopped liver. He's got some good guys.
They've been awesome. I think I told you, on Wednesday we had that conversation, and the Orioles bullpen was able to hold that game down. Anthony Nunez has been great for them. The Orioles on paper, their bullpen shouldn't be as good as it is, but they're a collection of guys that are throwing the ball very well right now. And so while that may change at some point, nothing that they've done to this point suggests that they're bad. Mm-hmm. And they had yesterday off. So actually, TB, maybe the Orioles are in a better situation bullpen-wise, because, you still had Weiser and you still had some leverage guys in there for the Red Sox yesterday, whereas the Orioles had the day off. So maybe the bullpen edge is not as pronounced as I maybe alluded to. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Orioles minus 115 for my parlay leg. Who are you looking at for the parlay?
So let's bring up a game that we haven't covered yet, because I'm going to bring my parlay for this game. It's going to be in the Angels-Royals game today. We got Kikuchi going against Noah Cameron, and I'm not a big fan of Kikuchi. I have badmouthed him on this show many times. However, if you go to my Twitter X, you'll see my pitcher matchup rankings for today, and he's number 2 on the list, man. He deals against the Royals, generally speaking, and I actually have a number where I calculate the average strikeouts per start, and in his per start, he's averaging 7.6 strikeouts against these guys per start, not per 9, per start. And his number is 4.5 here. I think Kikuchi is going to get over 4.5 strikeouts here. And I made a free play video on that on WagerTalk's YouTube channel. So you can go catch that as well. But that's going to be my parlay leg is Kikuchi over 4.5 strikeouts. I believe it was minus 135. Yes, minus 135 right now on the consensus line. What do you think about the Angels Royals here, Cameron and Kikuchi?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on we're on the same side. I mean, I could only make a case for the Angels in that game. And so, of course, if Kikuchi is striking guys out left and right and you're hitting your strikeout prop, the Angels are going to have a pretty good case to win. For me, it would be a fade of Noah Cameron. This guy, I talked about this coming into this year with Cameron, and he's a guy I loved at the AAA level. And then he came up and had a ton of success early in his career. But through a whole season last year, all of the underlying metrics suggested that he should have been worse than his numbers were. And there was a couple times late in the year where he kind of got blown up. And I was like, oh, this has sophomore slump candidate written all over it. Expected ERA was much hot. The expected ERA was higher than his ERA last year. And, watching this guy at Omaha and watching him at Kansas City, like you can tell like that stuff is not unhittable. Right. And so for me, Cameron was going to be a fade, always going to be a fade this year. The last 2 starts, he's gotten crushed. Okay. So it's like, again, now you've got a 4-start sample in 2026. He looked really good against the Twins, looked really good against the Guardians. And then the last 2 times out, gets pummeled by the White Sox. I think I had a bet in that game, and I'm pretty sure I won a bet in that game against him. And then against the Yankees, he gives up 5 runs on 7 hits in 4 innings. I think that's kind of what he is. So for me right now, Noah Cameron is a fade, and you like the Kikuchi strikeout. So I could only ride with you here with an Angels money line, which is in a very playable range, in my opinion. If you like the Angels, I think that's a good price to back them at.
I think they're dogs, aren't they?
Close to it. Yeah. And they're probably like even money. It can't be that. I mean, they've got to be right.
It's about even. Yeah. Kansas City 115 and LA 105. So it's pretty much even. But yeah, Angels are playing pretty good ball actually, and what's been their Achilles heel for so long was their bullpen, and their bullpen's actually, not shining like the Orioles, but they're keeping it together.
It's a really good point, TB. The Royals, I thought were going to have a decent bullpen on paper this year. They've been horrific, but horrific. One of the worst bullpens in the league.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if that's going to be the case all year, but like right now, this Royals bullpen is just bad. Like they've just been downright bad this year. And I'll go back to something I mentioned coming into the season. The Angels, I didn't expect them to have a great bullpen, but I did note that they went out and got like some interesting arms in the offseason, guys that, maybe could be a good long reliever. They didn't get like big time leverage guys, but they got guys that could help chip away at that bad bullpen ERA from last year. And I think that's what you've seen happen so far with the Angels. Like there are guys on that team this year that can pitch more so than there was last season. I think that's why you've seen the Angels sort of turn it around at this point.
The Angels never been known for having a good bullpen, but right now I got them ranked 15 out of 30, which is probably the highest they've ever been ranked since I've been a capper. So they've always been bad. They've always been like the Washington Nationals bullpen.
You'd have to go back a ways. You have to go back to the K-Rod days, right? When they really had a good bullpen, when Francisco Rodriguez was the closer and setting all sorts of records. Yeah. It has been a while. You're absolutely right about that. And again, I think you having them at 15 is an accomplishment for them. And that might be what they are. But the point is, this was a team last year that was like at the very bottom of the league in pitching, specifically bullpen ERA. So they've absolutely improved in that regard. There's no question.
Someone in the chat is saying the Reds have the best bullpen in the last month. I have the Reds ranked 19 out of 30. So I don't know.
I want to answer this question real quick because, he says, just curious, you all keep saying the Orioles have a good bullpen, but team as bad as the Royals put up football numbers. So what are you saying exactly? I'm going to try to answer. I'm going to try to answer your question here, but like, I'm not really sure what the Royals, like, how is the Royals example relevant? Like, so I'll go back to Tuesday. That was a 7-5 game, but all of those runs weren't in extra innings. Like that almost doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like when you're with extra innings, that was the game TB took a bad beat on. That was a 1-1 game going into extra innings.
In the ninth inning.
The extra innings runs when there's guys starting on second base. I'm not going to hold a bullpen accountable for extra inning runs. They did finally blow one in the second game of that series, 6-5. But like still, like the portion of those runs came from the starting pitcher. And then on Thursday, with their back end guys, they were able to hold off the lead. And then Anthony Nunez, who's been great, he came in and held out an 8-6 lead. So I guess I don't understand the question. Like the Orioles bullpen was pretty good in the Royals series, which they've been all season. I don't think they're going to be this good all year, but like, I don't know. I guess I disagree with that a little bit.
You got to look at the big picture. I look at expected ERA. I look at WHIP. I look at a bunch of different numbers and I put them together and I take the last 7 days, last 10 days, and I weight them. And then I take a look at who's available and who's not available. So it's a pretty technical calculation, but looking at the big picture, not looking at, and actually I disregard what happened yesterday in almost all of my capping because you can't be recency biased. So, that's kind of how I do it. And the Orioles rank top 5 as far as bullpen, and the Reds rank 19. Sorry, guys.
You aren't wrong about the Royals being trash. That team sucks.
They are.
I'm just going to say it. That team is just not good. And
as Charles Barkley would say, they're terrible.
I can't believe I got sucked into betting the Royals the other day. I was very upset with myself for that. But that's, hopefully for our sake, the Royals are swinging and missing today because Tokyo Brandon is going with Yusei Kikuchi over 4.5 strikeouts as his
over
part of the parlay.
Yeah.
I like the Angels in that game for what it's worth. I like the Angels. So, if you can't make a strikeout bet, I do like the Angels in that game. But my parlay
Cool.
leg will be the Orioles minus 115. Two teamers until Mr. Leonard is back. He is enjoying some sports this weekend in Toronto. I think he's going to go to the Guardians game tomorrow. But tonight he's got a 5%er, and he's also on a 10-bet winning streak. So check him out. Check out the double play special over at WagerTalk. Both TB and I will have plays today, and TB and I will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, for the Saturday show. We'll see you guys then. Have a great Friday.